Do you guys remember the last race you've seen where you weren't able to say who was going to win until the very last couple of laps? Well, that's exactly what happened in the 2019 Hungarian Grand Prix, where Hamilton and Verstappen fought for the lead throughout the whole race, giving us an incredible show. If you want to see some footage of the on-track action, I suggest you watch the highlights on the official F1 channel. But in this video, I would like to analyze how Mercedes literally stole the win from Red Bull with an amazing strategy, enabling Hamilton to score his 81st Grand Prix victory. Let's get into it. To help me analyze the race and to help you guys visualize what I'm talking about, I will use a tool called the Gapper. This is what the Gapper looks like for the 2019 Hungarian Grand Prix. It's basically a tool allowing us to plot on a graph the gap between the cars throughout the race. You have the leaders on top, Hamilton and Verstappen fighting for the lead, then the Ferraris, then the rest of the pack. If you're not quite sure you understand how this works or just want to know more about it, I suggest you watch my video on gappers. It will tell you everything about it. To begin with, I will analyze the battle for the lead, and I will do so chronologically because I really think we can see what happened and when the decision was made just by looking at this graph. The other few things I'd like to discuss would be the Ferrari duel for the final podium position. We'll also have a chat about the midfield battle and what I like to call the last point showdown for the 10th position, with some really interesting things going on. Before we go deep in the data and start showing up some graph, I would like to put some context around that race. Verstappen might have scored the pole position on the Saturday, clinching first position ahead of the two Mercedes. It was expected that Mercedes had the pace advantage. The pace advantage is basically how much faster can you go relatively to the guy you're chasing. There are some tracks like Monza, for example, where just a bit of pace advantage, like half a second, would be enough to overtake someone. But at tracks like Budapest or maybe Monaco, you would need to have a much bigger pace advantage to be able to overtake someone. You would have to be maybe a second or a second and a half quicker just to have a go at overtaking someone. And this is what this race is basically about. Mercedes always trying to improve their pace advantage on the Red Bull car. So let's start from the beginning. For the first stint, Hamilton was following Verstappen, not attacking too much. He knew the race was long and there was no point attacking straight away. When you're in that position, the first obvious option, I would say plan A, is the undercut. Mercedes' problem here was the Ferraris. I draw here on the graph the dotted line representing where Hamilton would have came out of the pits if he pitted on any given lap. Until the very lap where Verstappen pitted, he would have came out of the pits behind the Ferraris, meaning that if he had gone for the undercut, he would have had to overtake the Ferraris in his outlap, hence losing some time, hence losing the advantage of your undercut. Here, Red Bull perfectly covered the undercut from Hamilton, and as soon as the two Ferraris were out of their pit stop window, they went in the pits. Red Bull covered for the undercut, plan A didn't work out. Plan B. I assume plan B here was the overcut, because as soon as Verstappen comes in the pits, you can hear,
"Okay, Lewis, it's hammer time."
And that means, Mr. Lewis Hamilton, please be as fast as can be for the next lap or two laps, and then you were so fast doing these laps that you will come out in front of Verstappen. That would have been an overcut. But we can see on the graph that his pace did improve when Verstappen came in the pits, but not quite enough to make the undercut stick. That was plan B, didn't work out. Plan C was just to stick on that one-stop strategy, but go for an extended first stint. That would mean go in the pits a bit later and then come out of the pits, catching up the guy you're chasing, have fresher tires and really being able to attack him. That is exactly what happened. We see Lewis Hamilton pitting on lap 31. He lost a bit of time at the end of his first stint because he had old tires, but he catches Verstappen in 2 laps. He's so much quicker. We can see that on the graph. He's trying to overtake Verstappen for at least 5 or 6 laps. He is faster, but not quite enough to make it stick. I think at some point the Mercedes engineer thought, okay, this is not going to work out. You need to back off a bit. I believe the trigger was when he tried to overtake him on the outside.
But he is still under threat, and this time Hamilton goes round the outside at turn 4, goes off the track in doing so. Verstappen keeps his place out.
This is recipe for disaster. Do that for another 4 or 5 laps and you're gonna have someone crashing. So the Mercedes engineer might have told him, okay, back off, save the engine, save the tires, the brakes and whatnot, and we will try and think of another strategy. We can really see this at lap 39, where Hamilton really starts to cut Verstappen some slacks. Having a bit more space, even Verstappen improves his pace. Because when you're chased by someone, you always have to protect your position, covering the inside, covering the outside. You hurt your tires, you lose quite a bit of time. And as soon as Lewis Hamilton just gives up a bit, he's able to go a bit faster. 10 laps after that, we have plan D coming along. The second stop. Mercedes thought, same tire, same wear, we're not fast enough. Same tire, less wear, we're not fast enough. Different tires, less wear. We'll pit Hamilton for medium. He'll catch Verstappen, and Verstappen's tire will be so worn out that he will overtake him. And that is exactly what happened. To me, this race is a perfect example of how race strategists have to adapt in a Formula 1 race. Overcome what's on track and always find a new solution to gain track position to get the best results. What's the last one? Improvise? Yeah, I wouldn't say improvise much because all these decisions they're making is based on data. They have the numbers. They know how fast a medium tire is going to be. They have an estimate of when a hard tire will start losing lots of pace. So they thought Verstappen will lose some rhythm at the end of the race, and they thought they would be able to catch up the time they lost on the pit stop with the medium tires and stay out on these tires till the end. It's exactly what happened. Great gamble, great call, greatly executed by Lewis Hamilton, and great victory from the Mercedes team. So these two guys weren't the only two drivers in the race. We also had a battle for the third position between the Ferraris. I think even Ferrari was not really interested in that battle, to be honest. This is just a great example to show you guys how the plan C could have worked.
We need 3 more laps for plan C. 3 more laps for plan C.
And I think Hamilton could have made it work as well. But Vettel went all the way by pitting even later than Hamilton. That caused Vettel to catch Leclerc right when Leclerc was losing pace. The thing is, Hamilton caught Verstappen when Verstappen was still able to be fast. If he did like Vettel and only caught Verstappen when he started to lose his tires, then this one-stop strategy might have worked. But would have, could have, it worked very good, so I'm not gonna criticize anything. Next up, the midfield battle. This one is a bit messy because you have lap 28 and undercut by Gasly and Norris. We haven't seen it on TV, but I think Norris had a problem because he's in front of Gasly in the pits and comes out way behind, and he's even stuck behind Magnussen. You can see it here. Other than that, pretty regular strategy. An undercut that worked out, another one that didn't. Last area of interest in that race, I would say the battle for the final point in the 10th position. Perez kind of drove first blood in the 18th lap by undercutting everyone. We see that it's efficient because he come out of the pits in front of Grosjean, which he was behind, in front of Kvyat, but he's basically leading that pack till the end of the race, until Albon, who was on that plan C I mentioned earlier, had much fresher tires and started catching everyone up. He overtook Kvyat Albon was still in Toro Rosso at that time. And then overtook Perez and then flew off to the 10th place, meaning last point. I think another very smart strategy here was the one by Ricciardo. Ricciardo started far back on the grid and started the race with hard tires on the opposite of everyone, which were on medium tires. He kinda bided his time until his last stint. That's when things were supposed to get interesting. Him on fresh medium tires against everyone on worn out hard tires. That would be a huge pace advantage. The thing is, he was stuck behind Magnussen, and this guy just gets his elbows out. He wasn't able to make it stick, stayed stuck behind him, and that's like 13th, 14th position and a race wasted. Wow, 22 minutes. If you guys liked this analysis, I suggest you smash the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, and don't hesitate to drop some suggestion in the comment section if there is a specific race you want to hear about. I have a few in mind for my next videos, but give me a shout and I will try to look at the one you're interested in. In the meantime, well, take care, peace out, and see you around.